Welcome in, Sun Devil fans, to another episode of Echo from the Buttes. I'm your host for the night, Tom Hardon, standing in once again for the vacationing David Howman. With me, I have Andrew Hayslett and Austen Bundy. And guys, it's a bye week for football. There's really no news going on, right? We can just call this a wrap right now. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
Even though football is off for the week, do still have some things to talk about. Some major news broke this week. The Big 12 Conference officially confirmed the Union Jack Classic between the Sun Devils and the Kansas Jayhawks to take place at Wembley Stadium on September 19th, 2026. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, gave our varying thoughts on it, and now that it's confirmed, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little bit more excited for it than I was when the news was officially talked about. We've talked about how it's a little bit diluted with the international product for football, especially comparing to the NFL going to seemingly 42 different countries now. But I think this is just a unique opportunity. It's always fun to play the first game in a new country, and I just think it's a great great opportunity for ASU football. Austin, I'll bring you in first. What's your take on the official confirmation?
I'm loving it. I mean, it's a big opportunity for ASU to spread its brand internationally. I mean, ASU's already got a pretty good brand internationally just from its academics and its research, but this is a real good opportunity for the athletics, specifically the football program, to go abroad and really make some new fans. Big opportunity to go play on a big national or international stage, but nationally broadcast here in the States more than likely. I'm excited to see these guys go to a historic stadium, have a really big conference matchup early in the season, and hopefully come away with a big historic victory for the program.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited. A lot to love about this. But I don't want to be that guy that's complaining. But the one drawback for me, I don't know how you guys feel, is that this is right after a Texas A&M trip, compared to being in week 0, which would be, I think, ideal for this game to be played, or even week 1. But week 3, that's kind of what you get with some of these things. It's obviously not in my control, not really in the Sun Devils' control to an extent, but hey, this is still cool, and I'm not gonna have that one little thing diminish that. It'd be really, from whoever's gonna win this game, this is gonna be a game to remember for that team for a very long time, and that's something that will draw in new recruits, I think, for a long time as well.
At least it's not a home game they're losing either. It's an away game for the Sun Devils.
Yep. Big thing there too, and I've got to say the Sun Devil football social media team definitely understood the assignment. Immediately coming out with the double-decker version of Stomp the Bus, and that just got my blood going. Stomp the Bus always does it for me wherever I see it in stadium. If I watch it on YouTube, however many times I've watched it, and the double-decker bus was chef's kiss. It was perfect. Tickets will be going on sale for that pretty soon for if you're lucky enough to have pre-sale access. You may have just gotten an email that October 6th will be the pre-sale date, so these tickets are going to go pretty fast, and make sure you guys want to be your first on the list to get those tickets.
Gonna go fast like fish and chips.
Yeah. Better have fish and chips when you're there, and maybe a pint of Guinness as well. But we've got a little extra bye-week news. Jalen Moss was seen back at practice this week. Hasn't been playing since the NAU game. First with the foot injury, then battling his illness, and hopefully getting on track to come back for the Utah game next week. Do you guys think that this will be? I mean, obviously it'll be a help to the offense, give Sam another high-quality target, but with how the offense has been producing, how much do you think this is going to affect the game plan?
Go for it, Andrew.
I was going to say a lot because you've seen a lot of two tight end sets with Cameron Harple getting a lot of action, Kamari Anderson as well. But that's been the primary offense that ASU's been running. Now with Jalen Moss, you get a third quality target. Really, I would even argue you could argue a second quality target that's consistent. No disrespect to Derek Eusebio, but he could be a quality target, but he hasn't emerged yet consistently, like back to back to back games, like you see Tyson has. I think Moss can be that guy against Utah, straight off the bat. I mean, he's been in he. It's not like he missed like any camp. He didn't. He knows the playbook. He knows it. So compared to a preseason injury, a true preseason injury, and compared to getting injured week one, there's a that's different. He knows the playbook and potentially be an X factor on the field. And I think this will set into more three wide receiver sets. You'll still see Jordan Tyson out there on pretty much every play. And outside of him, I think you'll see Moss and McLean primarily. Derek Eusebio's your first guy off on those receivers. You'll still see your two tight end sets. Those are still going to happen, and you'll also see your Jaron Hamiltons, your Noble Johnsons, your Harry Hassmans, maybe. Those group of guys get a few snaps each to possibly produce something.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think this is going to open the playbook a little bit more for Kenny. It's really exciting to see him back at practice. I mean, more options for Sam is always great. You're never going to turn that down. I am excited to see how they're going to integrate him into into game action. Where I'm not sure if he's going to make it for next week's game. You would hope so. No setbacks. But it'll be interesting to see how they integrate him for the Texas Tech game, which is going to be gigantic. I would really like to see Sam use him more, like you said, Andrew, in those three wide receiver sets. Open up some space for Tyson potentially for drawing off a defender or two, because we all know what he can do. It's not like he's going to go out there and the defenses are going to discount him from the jump just because of the injury. He's got explosiveness. He's got the hands. I think this is going to be something that will cause defensive coordinators that ASU faces from here on out to rethink a lot of their scheming. And it's going to provide a lot more opportunity for Kenny to break out some of the plays that they've been holding on to so far this season and possibly create a little bit more of a versatile attack. And I think that's just going to benefit guys like Sam. It's going to benefit the offense, and I think it's going to result in more points being scored for ASU in the future.
Would you say this is cause for concern for the Shimon Mateer fan club, those of us who like seeing his targets go up the last few weeks?
I wouldn't say so. I don't think it's any time to panic. I mean, could his targets go down? Potentially. But I think where we've seen Shimon Mateer's value has been in his blocking game, and I don't think that's going away anytime soon. Could this change how they utilize Mateer into more of that guy on third down, the guy who's used in the red zone more often or on the goal line? Potentially, but I mean, we've all seen that he's effective in those situations, and if that's where Kenny thinks he's the most effective, then use him as much as you can in those situations and don't try to force him anywhere else. I mean, you never know, with Jalen Moss on the field, that could also potentially open him up more because defenses are going to be having to shift over to Moss in their defenses, and it leaves Mateer open in the middle of the field on those short down safety valve plays, or potentially create more opportunities for anybody in the receiving game because Mateer is going to be an effective blocker downfield.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, is what you said, Austen. Those third down and red zone opportunities, is that's obviously been the weak point on the Sun Devils offense so far this year. It's how are they going to address that in the bye week? How are they going to figure some things out? And how is Jalen Moss going to be the guy that flips the switch possibly? Not necessarily him catching the ball, but maybe drawing a defender to him that opens up your Meyer, McLean, Tyson, whoever.
All good stuff, all good stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing Moss back on the field and hopefully get this offense up to its full potential that we've been waiting for since week one, really. Last little bit of football blurb for the bye week. Student section was named Student Section of the Week for the Big 12 for this past week, and I think it's incredibly well deserved. Andrew, you were there in the student section, so you've been able to speak to just how electric it was. And this seems like a no-brainer to me, given the blackout, given the fact that we won, and just how the students stayed invested in the game the whole way through.
Yeah, well, what looked like a pretty much blackout to me. I don't think I saw a singular student wearing gold or maroon or white or any other color. Excuse me. And yeah, the atmosphere was electric. I made it on Tempe Barstool as a background character in a video, just vibing. So for what that's worth, I guess that's something. I guess, but
Didn't you tell us you had a story time?
that was getting stuck in the Valley Metro. So I guess
Okay.
But yeah, I was late. But from walking up, like looking at the student section from the stands at that point, it was cool to see. Like, oh wow, this is what this looks like from this angle. I hadn't seen this before, and it's a good environment for sure.
Yeah, from my vantage point, the only non-black that I could see was the gold towels.
Yeah, I think the only I don't know where I was going to go with this, but I don't think many people left at halftime. I don't, and this is the second time that this award has been given to the Sun Devils. It's a new award this year. This student section of the week, which I think is a cool award. Good job on the Big 12 for doing this thing. I think it's really cool. But really, the Sun Devils had 3 opportunities to win it, and they've won it twice. Inferno, it's pretty hot.
Yeah, for sure. It's really encouraging to see the students stay throughout the entire game. And I mean, they were effective the entire game, too. I don't know what the final numbers were on penalties, but there were a few false starts, if I remember correctly, that were caused by the sound, especially when they were backed up against the south end zone there. So huge props to the student section for showing up. Well-deserved, earning that award, that title. And I'm glad that this was something that contributed to the win as opposed to just looking good and being some social post. This was legitimately a full effort by the student section, everybody who showed up and sold out Mountain America Stadium. So it's really encouraging, it's really cool to see, and hopefully they can win a couple more this season.
As a student emeritus, if anybody out there wants to grant me student access for the day, holler towards your boy, because I want to experience that for myself.
Yeah, I remember. It's nice to see that the student section is back in full force, because when I was a student from the fall 2015 to spring 2019, those years were a little dark. So there weren't a ton of games where students were staying throughout the whole time. I think the last blackout I can remember fully in memory was the Eastern Michigan win. Or sorry, not Eastern Michigan, this Michigan State upset, the last second field goal during the Herm era. I think that was the last blackout I remember, and even then, like, a good chunk of the student section was gone by the time they kicked that last-minute field goal. I think there was only about half of the students left when that happened.
I think that really speaks to the whole activate the valley mentality that Kenny's been bringing in since day one, and that's spread throughout the athletic department. You hear other coaches within the department using Activate the Valley as well for their respective sports. So it's nice to see it taking hold with football and spreading throughout. But moving on, as we do have other sports on the docket for tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see Austen and I representing our hockey team. Hockey starts up tomorrow. What was
I
that,
did not
Andrew?
get the I'm just wearing a polo shirt. I did not get that memo.
We'll pass around the dress code for next show. How's that?
Okay, sounds good.
But hockey starts up tomorrow night, hosting number 5 Penn State. Sun Devils are ranked number 14 in the nation, and I don't know about you guys. I've been counting down to the start of hockey season since I think about March 25th, shortly after ASU was eliminated from the NCHC tournament and missed out on making the national tournament. This is just such an exciting time to be a hockey fan. And Andrew, I know that you are big on hockey as well. You were actually at Coach Powers' presser on Monday. Can you tell us what some of the vibe at the press conference was?
I think the biggest thing that we noted from news wise was Connor Hasley's going to start Friday night, as I think pretty much everyone would have expected. The senior transfer from Bentley had a lot of success there, took that team on his back to the NCAAs, I believe, last year as a number 4 seed in the Atlantic Hockey America Conference. I believe had a lot of shutouts last year. I believe led or tied the NCAA last year in shutouts, if memory serves me correct there.
He led with 11 shutouts. He was the only goaltender to record double-digit shutouts last season.
Yeah, he's shown that he can carry teams on his back, kind of similar to what Alex Tracy has done at Minnesota State, just kind of that low goals against average type, which is what you need. Is what I think. I think this is what Greg Powers' teams have been lacking in the past few years, is a true number 1 goalie. 2 years ago, it was kind of TJ Septenfelter with Gibson Homer challenging him and eventually upsetting him into that number 1 goalie spot. And then the next year, Gibson Homer had that number 1 spot, and Luke Pavicic kind of took that from him. And then they kind of split that throughout the rest of the year. I think this year's going to be different. I think it's going to be a year where we see Hasley in the majority of games, and then you'll see Samuel Urban, the freshman from Europe. He's going to start in games that are against lesser opponents, like your Miami's of Ohio, your Minnesota Duluth, your Augustanas to an extent. Those types of games. I think that's where you're going to see Urban play his few starts while learning under Hasley. And that's something I'm excited to see this season, is can the goaltending perform at its peak.
So I had the chance to talk to Coach Powers both during NCHC Media Days last week and during Tuesday's show, his radio show Health Frozen Over at the Vibe just off Mill. And I asked him how Urban's development is going to play out this season. What can we expect to see from him as far as game action? And we can expect to see some serious minutes from Urban throughout the year. I don't think it's going to be quite the same split like what Western Michigan had last season with Hampton Slukinski and Cameron Rowe essentially being a tandem from December onward. I do believe that Hasley will get the majority of the starts in net, but it's not going to be a super majority. It's not, it'll be maybe, we have 36 home games this year. I think we can expect to see Hasley get maybe 22, 24 of them as dedicated starts, and Urban get the remainder, because Powers wants to establish Urban as the program's goaltender of the future. We've had, you mentioned TJ Septenfelter and Gibson Homer, the last 2 starting goalies. Both have carved what I like to call the Tempe to Grand Forks pipeline, and I'd like to see that end this season. I don't want to see another goaltender go up to Grand Forks. Hasley's a senior, so we don't have him after this year. Urban is the goaltender of the future, and I've seen him play internationally for Slovakia during the U18 World Championships. He is the truth, as the kids say these days. He's outstanding in net. He's got great presence. He establishes himself at the top of the crease really well and doesn't drop down immediately like a lot of modern goaltenders do. He keeps himself up, uses his size to his advantage, and that's something that Gibson Homer really gave us in that 6'4" frame last year, but still, with the modern goaltending, dropped down much too quick and gave up a lot of the upper half of the net. So seeing how the kid Urban develops, I am really excited for that.
Also, Chase Ham could continue your Tempe to Grand Forks pipeline.
We can keep Hammer 2.0 here. He's been an ACHA grinder, and I like seeing him there. I was hoping to see some ham and eggs on the back of his goalie mask during the open house, but maybe that's something in the works for later on in the season. But this matchup with Penn State is really must-see TV, quite literally. It's going to be broadcast not only regionally. Friday's game will be on Fox 10, Saturday's game on Fox 10 Extra, but will be broadcast on national TV on NHL Network, will be streamed globally on the NHL's YouTube channel. I guess something about this kid, Gavin McKenna, Gavin McKenna, that's the one. And Austen, you've been doing a little bit of research on the Penn State side. I want to loop you in on that and give us some insight there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you haven't heard of this kid yet, you better start doing your homework. He is the projected #1 overall pick in next year's NHL draft. He's come from the WHL over from Medicine Hat, and he's a freaking superstar. He's going to really take Penn State to the next level. His coach had nothing but insane praise for him during their media day a couple days ago. It was incredible to hear him talk about how he felt like he didn't really need to coach the kid up much besides just gelling with his teammates because of how skilled he is. His coach literally said, like, this isn't about me having to coach him up or have to, like, tell him what to do. What he does with the puck is just beyond comprehension. Like, he just has a way with it that is insane and is going to be incredible to watch. I think ASU is going to have their hands full with this guy, but it's going to be exciting to see him in action, see him in Tempe for once. I mean, just going to Mullet Arena is an incredible atmosphere to begin with, but to have a superstar like that on a national stage, especially now that ASU is going to get some national exposure through NHL Network, McKenna is going to be the guy to watch all season long. He committed to Penn State in July, and he turned down Michigan State, surprisingly, which is kind of hilarious considering that the Big Ten media has Gavin McKenna pegged as a preseason All-Big Ten selection and picked Penn State to finish second in the conference, ironically behind Michigan State. So we will see what McKenna can do for the Nittany Lions, who made their first appearance in the Frozen Four last season. He said during his media day that seeing Penn State in the Frozen Four was kind of what sold it for him as early as January, and he wasn't sure if he was even going to go to college, and decided that when he watched Penn State play that he in the Frozen Four later that spring, that's where he wanted to go, and he had his mind made up at that point. So it's going to be exciting to see him play in Happy Valley and across the country, but having him come to Tempe and play in Mullet Arena and then have this game broadcast on NHL Network for the entire nation, a lot of NHL fans to see. It's going to be real exciting. And I mean, Penn State's #4. They're a really good team. ASU is also ranked. I'm just hoping that ASU doesn't get blown out. I'm confident that I think they can get at least one game off of Penn State. If the first one, if they can catch them on their heels, maybe just with a little bit of rust. But it would be really nice to see ASU get off to a really good start and take one off of a likely national championship contender.
Well, in the spirit of Charles Hardon, In the spirit of Charles Barkley, I got 2 words for you. Gavin McKenna, Colin Potter, must-see TV.
Well, and you mentioned likely national championship winner, and Penn State opens the season as the preseason favorite to win the national championship, plus 500 betting odds according to DraftKings. So he's really moved the needle in Penn State's favor since committing. But here's something that I have always said about Big Ten hockey: at least accomplish something before crowning the next Big Ten national champion. No Big Ten team has won the national championship since Penn State joined and the Big Ten moved to Division I hockey as an all-sports conference. The last Big Ten team to win the national championship was Michigan State in 2007. So, Big Ten homers, come at me all you want, but you might say they're due, but I say prove it. Prove that you are as good as you say you are. And let's also not forget that Gavin McKenna is not the entire Penn State team. Penn State also got another highly regarded commitment out of Jackson Smith. He was a draft pick this past year by I believe it was the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they return a very heavy core. Aiden Fink was a 50-point scorer last year, 4th in the nation. Charlie Serrato, J.J. Webush, Matt DiMarsico, Reese Laubach, Dane Dowiak, Ben Shane, all over 30-point scorers. This offense is a juggernaut, and it's going to be an immediate test for Connor Hasley, who I also want to bring up. He did almost knock off number 1 ranked Boston College last year for Bentley in the first round. Held them in the game for about 57.5 minutes before getting pulled when down a goal, and Bentley ultimately lost that game, but still an impressive showing for Hasley and Bentley in their first ever tournament appearance last year. Hopefully that success translates out west here. But like we said, this game is on national television. It's a huge opportunity for Sun Devil hockey to shock the world. I'll go out and say it. Let's shock the world and take at least one, if not both, from Penn State, because the biggest adjustment, not only for Gavin McKenna, but for all of these CHL guys, and we've got quite a few ourselves, is how are they going to adjust to the differing game schedules? How are they going to go from playing 56 games a year in the CHL to only playing 34, 36 games at college and managing classes at the same time? That's something that Gavin did bring up during his time on the podium at Penn State Media Day as well. It's going to be a whole different routine, whole different thing to get used to, is having to manage these classes instead of just playing hockey 3-4 days a week.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that he said the difference was going to be was playing less games, because when he's out in the CHL, they're playing a lot of games. It's close to an NHL type schedule with the level of games that they're playing. And he was saying that the biggest challenge he's going to have is going down to like a 33 game schedule. But he thinks that's going to be a benefit to him, because that was one of the reasons why he wanted to go to college, was less games and to get that college experience. So I give him a lot of credit, considering that he could have gone back to the CHL, dominated again, and been the number 1 pick anyways next year. But he decided to come here to North America, or come here to the United States, and give it a shot, get an education, hopefully, and play some college hockey. So I give him a lot of credit for doing that, and it's going to be a whole new experience for him. He's going to be a more well-rounded guy at the end of the day. So it's going to be real exciting for not just NHL fans watching this kid, but for the NCAA in general.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm super excited for the game. I'll be in the building. Andrew, I know you're planning on being in the building. Austen, I hope you'll be watching from the comfort of your home. It's going to be a wild one. Fans, if you are going to this game, don't forget Joey DeCord will be honored pregame as the first number retirement in program history. Extremely well deserved, in my opinion. I've heard some people say that, why are you doing this now? This is too soon for his number to be retired. I think it's the perfect opportunity because all the hype is coming in surrounding Gavin McKenna. And if you look at all of the NHL media going out on Twitter about this game, it's Gavin McKenna and Penn State, and they just happen to be playing ASU. This puts the focus back on ASU in our own building. So I think this, Joey's number retirement will set the tone for the first game and give fans something to get incredibly excited about ahead of what looks to be two hard-fought, exciting games. We'll have all the coverage for you on Devils in Detail and all throughout the weekend, so stay tuned to Andrew and myself for all of that coverage. But enough.
I was just gonna say, Joey. I mean, Joey was our first guy in the league, wasn't he?
Joey was our first guy in the league, and he was. I heard during Powers' presser that he was really the second official commit to Arizona State. Like, he was committed even before we had announced we were moving up to Division I, but we hadn't played a game yet. He did not arrive until 2016, 2017, and Andrew, you were there. I was watching the press conference after the fact, but it was basically in the janitor's closet of Oceanside where they came to that commitment deal.
Yeah, I think that's what Greg Powers called it. I don't think it was that extreme. But yeah, during the press conference, Coach Powers talked about the founding fathers of Sun Devil hockey, and Joey Decord being one of them, and how they had a lot of tough times with that program of being independents, just building it up to what it is now, because all those players that we see now, none of them probably come to Arizona State then with those set of circumstances, playing in an ice rink that barely holds 1,000 people, being an independent, having to travel just to whoever wants to schedule Arizona State versus being in a conference of, you get the privilege to play Arizona State versus what they are now. And now with the team making a tournament one year, and then they would have made the tournament the COVID year as well. Just the team has come a long way, and retiring Joey Decord's number, and then probably going to retire some other people's numbers from those eras at some point, I would imagine, too.
Johnny Walker should be next.
Yep.
Shout out to our ACHA head coach.
D2, I believe. But yeah, just those guys who built the program up to what it is now. That's how we got here to now. Just the reflection of that. And you'll see it more in the arena as well with a lot of things. They built a new, but they refurbished a hallway inside, I believe, by the locker rooms where they come out, which I think is really cool. Speaking of jerseys, they got that fourth jersey, that throwback, which I think really looks cool. I don't know about what you guys think, but
I'm all for it. I'm a strong advocate of the NHL adopting what college does and having teams wear their whites at home and have road teams wear dark jerseys. This is an exception that I'm going to make because I want to see these, and I'm gonna go full in and call it a reverse retro, because that is essentially what this uniform is. It is the old club jersey that the team wore for the 22-23 and 23-24 seasons, but in maroon with the gold trim. And I want to see that in person. I want to see it at least a handful of games at Mullet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, look good, play good. I think ASU's always done a great job with their uniforms and figuring out those fantastic designs with Adidas. And I mean, just going right back to Joey, I mean, anyone who says this is too soon to retire, it's not like he's not made a name for himself in the NHL already. I mean, the guy is the guy in Seattle now. I mean, he was already doing pretty well when he was with Ottawa, but to be selected in the expansion draft showed how much confidence an organization like Seattle had in him, and now he's pretty much taken that number one job. And we'll see how well he does this year, but I think he's going to be the guy in Seattle, and it may not be his final destination, but I could very well see him being one of those goalies that gets picked up in a trade deadline deal for a Stanley Cup contender at some point. Maybe not this season, but somewhere down the road. I think Joey Daccord is going to be one of the first, if not the first, Sun Devil to lift the Stanley Cup at some point.
I love that, and let's also not forget that he made history in the 2024 Winter Classic, recording the first ever shutout in the outdoor series. So he's already making his mark on the NHL. He keeps Sparky on his goalie helmet with every design. He bleeds maroon and gold. He's a Sun Devil to the core, and this is incredibly well deserved for him. And I consider myself lucky that I'm going to be in attendance for his retirement, and that I got to watch a handful of games that he played in. I actually went to the Yale series in 2018, right, towards the end of those toiling years, and saw his play against Yale. Now, granted, Yale was not and still is not the best of teams to measure up against, but I saw the way he played. And walking out of the arena with my dad, I turned to him and I said, this team is right on the cusp of being really good. Little did I know that we would make the tournament the very next year, making my words extremely prophetic, but it speaks volumes to just how far this program has come. Unfortunately, the COVID year really did the team in with playing on the road the entire season, but I think this program is right back where it should be and is going to be a strong contender for years to come, now that we've got our strong recruiting base, and even Power saying we don't have to go into the portal nearly as much as we had to in years past, focused on bringing guys in, guys who are going to buy into the program and develop them up, keep them for 2-3 years until they sign or get drafted or whatever the future holds for them.
Could you imagine if the program had gone D1 just a little sooner and they got Austin Matthews in there? We already know he said he would have committed. He would have done it. He said that had the program been D1 when he was eligible, he would have done it. He would have been there.
There is photographic evidence online of Austin Matthews wearing Arizona State hockey apparel, and what could have been, we may always wax poetic about that, but nothing we can do about that now. Just hopefully bring, if the NHL comes back, coax Austen to come back and play for his hometown team. That's something that I will settle for. Get him away from Toronto. We don't need him up there. But I could talk about hockey for hours and hours. We've got other sports to go ahead and cover. We've got basketball that's getting ready to start up, both men's and women's, starting just about a month from now. Men's basketball is going to have their first exhibition game on October 12th at UC Irvine. And I think the ongoing question is, how hot is Bobby Hurley's seat coming into the season?
I'd say it's pretty close to scorching at this point. I mean, we all thought last year he wasn't going to make it to his last year in his contract. I think Bobby's really in a tight spot, and not just because they haven't gotten results, but I feel like he's been dealt some bad hands. And I don't know if that's just because the recruiting has been off. I mean, I don't know if you could even say that, because he's brought in a lot of really, really big recruits, but they don't seem to gel. They don't seem to actually translate into anything on the hard court. And then some of them leave and they end up playing fantastic or just good enough to be the NBA lottery pick that everyone thought they were going to be. And I don't know if that just comes down to coaching. Is Bobby losing his touch coaching-wise, or is there something wrong with the culture that these guys are not able to play as a cohesive unit on the hard court? I also think there's a little bit of a mix of the Big 12 being one of the best conferences in basketball. So I think it's real difficult for Bobby Hurley to build these rosters that can compete with the rest of the conference, that doesn't necessarily have these big superstars, but just are really well coached and just have a lot of great role players that know exactly what they need to do, and it just translates into offense and incredible defense. Bobby's seat is definitely at its probably max setting right now when it comes to heat. I would be surprised, to be honest with you, if ASU does not have a 500 or better record by Christmas if Bobby is still around.
That's certainly fair. I mean, you've got some tough teams on that schedule. Oklahoma, UCLA, some good powerhouse teams, and then who knows who they're going to be playing in the Maui Invitational. They've got Texas there in the first round. They also have got Gonzaga in the before then. So some tough games for sure. I think Bobby's going to make it to the end of the year. I just don't think they want to pay the buyout, which is fine. I get you're saving money, but you better have an idea who that next guy is pretty quick, because I think everyone knows Bobby Hurley's essentially a dead man walking this year. I think unless he goes out and makes the NCAA tournament for some reason, which he could do, there's a pretty good chance he's getting fired, like it or not, because I believe he's been the longest tenured coach in Sun Devil basketball history, which is an accomplishment. And he's done a relatively good job for this program considering what it has been in the past.
And it's a tough outlook for men's basketball this season. The Athletic put out their preseason Big 12 rankings not too long ago and ranked ASU 16th out of 16 in the Big 12. And
that means we're winning it all, Tom. We've read this book before.
The script is written, so we should just book our tickets to Kansas City now, right?
Exactly.
Well, they'll still be playing whether they're a last or first, I think. So.
But book the ticket. Buy the championship game tickets right now.
That's fair.
The starting five, we're bringing in 4 transfers as the projected starting five. We got Maurice Odom coming in from Pepperdine, Adante Holloman from Georgia Southern, Marcus Adams Jr. out of Cal State Northridge, Alan Mubeka from Oakland, and then more Masamba Diop coming over from Spain. It's a tough road. I am not the biggest basketball fan. I will go to maybe 2 games a year, and I'll pretend to watch a little bit. But even I can look at this starting five and think to myself, is this going to do it? Like, what is this? What are we looking at here?
Yeah,
I agree with you. To be honest, I miss the days of Remy Martin and that exciting starting five that we had. Especially, again, another team that was victimized by the COVID year would have made the tournament and more than likely could have made it a couple rounds deep because they were that good that year. But like you said, this is going to be difficult to stomach, I think, for a lot of Sun Devil fans. I mean, last year there were higher expectations having. Was it Josh Christopher that we had last year? Yeah, having him and a lot of other transfers that we thought were going to translate into more points on the court there. I think this year people are going to have to lower their expectations and essentially just take what we're going to get because, I mean, at least that's how I'm going to go into the season is just no expectations and just see what we get because like Andrew said, I think Hurley's a dead man walking when it comes to his job. And the product we're going to get is hopefully something respectable, but I would not be surprised if this team has single-digit wins by Christmas.
Well, pivoting from a team with a coach almost assuredly on the way out to a team with a coach on their way in, let's look at ASU women's basketball and Molly Miller coming in from Grand Canyon University, certainly injecting a lot of life into some buzz around the women's program. Had a struggle to their season last year, and is this the breath of fresh air that women's basketball needs to use a very poorly thought of pun, rebound?
It could be, because I see on fairly often, I see on my phone, oh, Molly Miller's at this event, Molly Miller's at this event. I did not see the same thing with Natasha Adair. Because when Natasha Adair inherited the program, ASU women's basketball was respectable. And now, in Adair's time, she wasn't very good as a head coach. Just put it at that. So, I think getting rid of her was obviously a step in the right direction. But how much is it with Molly Miller? That's to be decided.
Yeah, I agree with you there. There's a lot to be proven, but I'm excited for the future of Sun Devil women's basketball. I mean, it's a long way that they have fallen, and I don't necessarily lay the blame at too many people's feet. Sometimes you get just not great recruiting classes. Sometimes the coaching just isn't up to par, and clearly that looked to be the way it was the past few years. But I think Molly Miller has a culture reset coming for this team, and I think that's really going to benefit them, especially bringing in the type of hustle and the type of hard work ethic that she had over at GCU. I think that's something the Sun Devils could really use, and I think she's going to change the course of the program for the better. And I think this first year is going to be one that everybody's going to pay close attention to, but I also think people need to, again, temper expectations, and any sort of improvement on last year is just a step in the right direction.
You know, I see in Molly Miller a little bit of what I saw from Kenny Dillingham after he was hired as the head coach for football, and I'm going to agree with you there, 100%, Austen. It's not going to be an overnight change. Incremental improvement this season is what you want to see, but look to season 2 and beyond for the real culture of Molly Miller to take effect and really see what this team is going to be made of. There has been some positive movement in the portal as a result of her being named head coach, and I think this is really just going to be a wait and be surprised season. Like you said, temper expectations, and honestly, I think just kind of take what we get. It sounds a little bit bad to say that, but I think in a first year with a new head coach, unless it is catastrophically bad, like if we're 0 whatever in February, then you're starting to think, okay, was this really the right fit? But it's not going to be cause for concern if it's only a little bit better than last year. Like I said, any improvement is good improvement. But we've got men's basketball starting up on November 4th versus Southern Utah. Women's starts up on November 3rd against Coppin State. Both games at home at Desert Financial Arena, which earlier this week it was announced that DFA will be undergoing approximately $100 million renovation to be estimated to be completed by 2029, I believe. So it's a very much needed upgrade to an arena that I don't think has been touched by a contractor since 1974. Just pulling that out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Hopefully good things on the horizon for both men's and women's basketball on and off the court.
Yeah, DFA's like, for what it is, it's good. Like it's lasted a long time. It's a stadium that hasn't had renovations in a long time. Which, it's good that you've had it, but with things aging, things need renovation, and DFA does need renovation right now. But it's regardless, it's a fine stadium. It's fun when it's very loud in there, all the noise echoes. Certainly one of the top environments I've been in was 2 years ago when ASU men's basketball played U of A. The noise was just echoing and echoing. I think the loudest sporting event I've been in at ASU, personally.
Yeah, it's an intimate arena, to put it lightly. I rarely was there for any times where it was loud enough to really feel like that, or the way you probably felt, Andrew. But again, some darker years for ASU. But yeah, I think the only thing that I have tangibly seen, but then again, I haven't been paying too close attention to DFA's upgrades in the last few years. I think the only thing I've noticed that they've upgraded is the banners. I think that's the only thing they've changed is they swapped out the banners for the championships and the retired numbers. That's all I noticed.
Yeah, just very very little cosmetic updates here and there. That's I think all that's been done as of recently. We're going to look here at another team that calls DFA home, and that's our volleyball team, off to a very good start at 11-2, just coming off a 3-0 match win at Kansas State. Completed the sweep in Kansas this past week, taking down number 18 Kansas by a score of three sets to 2. And I got into volleyball a little bit last year, went to a couple of the home matches against BYU and Kansas State. Both were wins, so I think I'm probably due to go back for another one to keep my winning streak going. But it's exciting to have some of these lesser attended sports really bring the team and the whole program into national prominence.
Yeah, kind of circling back to what we talked about Kenny Dillingham and Molly Miller a little bit. JJ Van Niel has been that guy since he took over at ASU. This is his first coaching job, mind you. And he only in 3 seasons has like 11 or 12 losses. Which, in a volleyball conference that was as good as the Pac-12 was last when he went in there. And the Big 12 is a little bit worse conference, but still. That few losses in that long of a time is insane. He's doing a lot of great things. Did some great work with the transfer portal all 3 years that he has been here as the head coach. Yes, Kenny Dillingham's great, but I think JJ Van Niel is the best coach in ASU in all of ASU athletics right now.
That's high praise. I mean, he's got the resume to back it up right now. I think ASU as a program in women's volleyball has gone into the Big 12 and filled the void left behind by Texas. And you see the Texas women's program is doing what it's doing in the SEC, but that program really dominated the conference prior to ASU's arrival, and now I think ASU has stepped up and taken that mantle, and they're not giving it up. I mean, they've really got the talent. They've got the hype surrounding them. And it's like Tom said, it's really encouraging to see some of these programs that don't get enough attention on the national stage getting the attention that it deserves from the student body, the attention that it deserves from the rest of the community in Tempe and in the Valley. That really helps build not only the brand, but it helps build up the student athletes as well. These girls that deserve a lot of the attention that they're getting because of their skills.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting times, and volleyball is number 8 in the nation. Let's shout them out for being another team very highly ranked in their respective poll.
They they beat Penn State, the reigning national champion, earlier this year. So this team can do some damage in the playoffs. Which the one mark against JJ Van Niel is that he hasn't really gone super far in the playoffs, but I think this is the year where he can make a deep run with the team he's got.
Well, here's hoping that can happen. And if you're attending the hockey game at 5:00 on Saturday, why not make it a doubleheader? Stop on by DFA at 1:00. That's volleyball's next home game against Utah. So,
have the ring ceremony.
What was that?
They've got the ring ceremony from last year's Big 12 rings.
That's right. So perfect time to go out and support the team. A couple other, want to give a shout out to soccer. 8-1-2 record on the season, and really impressive in Big 12 play. Have you guys, Andrew, have you been able to get out to a match this season?
I have not.
I haven't been able to attend, but I noticed that they had a pretty huge upset over. It was BYU, right, that they upset earlier in the season?
Yeah, number 10 BYU, September 18th. Hard to go wrong with an upset there. Last game was a loss against UCF on the 28th. They'll be back at home against West Virginia on October 5th, who's right outside on the cusp of the rankings for soccer. So, yet another sport to show your support for. Last item that we have for this show, ASU baseball got a big commit in E.J. Meyer, the younger brother of Red Sox top prospect Marcelo Meyer, coming out of Sarita High School, committing for next season. Andrew, you're big in, you're keyed into baseball. Is this, what does this mean for Willie Bloomquist and baseball next season if he as the season starts?
Yeah, if you can retain him and not have him get drafted, that's obviously going to be huge because this guy, he obviously has a brother that knows what he's doing. And Willie Bloomquist, he's gotten some good players as freshmen, like Landon Hairston, who had a very good year, but Bloomquist builds teams more from the portal, traditionally speaking. But if he can get some good freshman talent, homegrown talent, I think that would be huge for him. I know he doesn't build. I think it's kind of a mix of building it from the portal and freshmen, but if you can get more away from the portal, I think that's sets you up better for success in no matter the sport.
And actually, I do want to correct myself real quick. He's a 2027 high school grad, so it would be for the spring of 2028. I wanted to fact check myself there before we go too much deeper. I think we may have possibly lost Austen, but that's a big commit for baseball. Hopefully he doesn't get drafted out of high school and sign away from ASU, as so many commits have in the past. But this bodes well for baseball coming down the line. Austen, do we have you back?
I'm here if you can hear me.
Yep, I can hear you now. You were caught up there a little bit, but just closing the book on Meyer. Hopefully he sticks and does see campus here for the 2028 season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he'd be a huge addition to the program, and it would be great if they could keep him around, not be drafted, like Andrew said. Bloomquist needs all the help he can get because the program is one of those teams that seems to be right on the edge of competing for some sort of championship, maybe not a national championship, but they're maybe just a few pieces away from being able to sustain some success and potentially get to Omaha one day.
It'd be nice to change that banner for the first time since 1981. I take my annual picture of the banners and manually put in whatever year we're playing in. I've done that the last 7 years, so I'd like to not have to do that for another year. Well, that's going to about wrap it up for us at Echo from the Buttes for tonight. It's been a great night covering all the other sports that we don't normally get to talk about. Keep looking at us at Devils in Detail. We'll have coverage of hockey all weekend long. We'll keep bringing you the football news throughout the weekend, and basketball ramping up. It's going to be a busy time for Sun Devil Athletics. But for Andrew Hayslett and Austen Bundy, I'm Tom Hardon. As always, forks up and go Devils.